With the third pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Scoot Henderson from Marietta, Georgia, and the NBA G League's Team Ignite.
After the NBA draft, Scoot Henderson was one of the most highly touted prospects in the 2023 NBA draft, but his rookie year was rough. He averaged about 14 points per game on very bad efficiency, one of the most turnover-prone point guards in the NBA, and just could not find a jump shot and was really bad on defense. Now, coming into this season, I did consider Scoot Henderson to be a possible breakout candidate because this is somebody that is a starting point guard in the NBA in his first season in the NBA after being the number 3 pick for the Portland Trail Blazers and being the new starting point guard that was going to get the keys to the franchise after trading possibly the Portland Trail Blazers' best player of all time in Damian Lillard. So we all know what type of pressure that comes with, and I was willing to give him a pass and see how he plays this season, but to start off the season, he was just as bad. I think the growth from Scoot Henderson from the start of the season to now was very, very marginal, but now he's starting to play a lot better. Since January 9th, Scoot Henderson is averaging 19 points per game, about 6.5 assists per game on 52, 46, 79% splits on 69% true shooting. Now, this is something that is very high for a guy in his second year who had a very below average rookie season. So today we're going to be looking at the film and trying to figure out, is this stretch from Scoot Henderson something we can expect throughout the rest of his career, or is this just a really hot streak that could fall? So if you guys like really consistent content posted 6 days out of the week, and I'm on a podcast on Sunday with Mars Talk Sports, make sure you guys subscribe to get your daily fix of NBA basketball. So with all that being said, let's get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into Scoot Henderson's game. Now, the first thing I would like to say is if I was a guy developing Scoot Henderson, now I'm just going to make this clear. I am not a team developer. I'm not a player developer. But the first thing I would do is we're going to take it step by step with Scoot Henderson, especially after that really tough rookie season that Scoot Henderson provided. Now, there are still a lot of things that Scoot Henderson still does really well. And one thing that I would like to say is he does create really good rim pressure. He has a really good ball handle and control on the ball. And if he can create rim pressure, that's going to be the thing that we build off of. So I see your traits. I look at your athleticism. I look at your burst. I look at your leaping ability. I look at your body control once your feet does leave the ground. And I say, okay, Scoot, we have a building block. So what we're going to do is we're going to help you create while getting downhill. So once he's getting downhill, we're going to focus on him finishing around the rim. And once he becomes a better finisher, now we're going to start looking at him seeing the floor a little bit better once he does get downhill, because once you start getting downhill and putting pressure on the rim immensely, people are going to start sending help. And once they start sending help, we're going to work on your vision and being able to pass out of these closeouts and pass out of these defenses collapsing. Now we have a real blueprint to success. We have a point guard who can put an immense pressure on the rim and pass out to shooters when the defense collapses. And then we'll work on the other stuff as we go. So the first thing I want to show you guys is Scoot Henderson showing his ball control and getting to the rim with that leaping ability and that body control once his feet does leave the ground. So let's start right here. So he has DeAnthony Melton guarding him. He's going to make a pretty good move, and he's going to finish right around the rim. So let's take a look real fast at the dribble moves he made. So once he gets the ball, he's going to get the screen from Clingan, which I think this is going to be very good in the future. I think Donovan Clingan is going to be one of the better screeners in the NBA. Just look at his frame. He's 7'2", about 270, 280 pounds. He's going to be a really good screener, especially with some of these small guards who are going to be guarding Scoot Henderson. So once we get a good screen here, Scoot already has a really good step, and he has the lane because, in my opinion, Trayce Jackson-Davis is playing this really bad. He's up way too high. So once he gets that lane, he already has a pretty good lane to get to the rim. So Trayce Jackson-Davis doesn't really have the best chance of contesting this without fouling. So therefore, the contest is pretty lazy, and Scoot Henderson finishes around the rim. That's a really good play. So last season, Scoot Henderson shot about 36% from the mid-range. This year, it's about 39%. So once again, this is something that is still a work in progress. But like I said, we're going to keep adding layers to Scoot Henderson's game until he becomes the best player we think he can be. So he's always going to be a threat to get downhill because he's extremely athletic. So I think players are going to want to play up on him, and he makes the move right here. He gets the easy mid-range. This is something that I would like to see him build on a lot more. Obviously, we don't know if he's just going to be some efficient mid-range shooter, and mid-range shots in today's game is not really the best thing that you can lean on. But if you're going to take what the defense gives you, I have no issue with that. So Scoot Henderson, once again, he's going to get the screen from Donovan Clingan. CJ McCollum goes under the screen. Scoot Henderson doesn't necessarily have a lane to get to the rim. But once again, a pass to Denny Advia right here would have been really good, because then we get Jordan Hawkins right here trying to close out on Denny Advia. They make the swing one more time and we get an open shot. And if Zion Williamson does try and close out on 24, we get the pass to, I think that's Jabari Walker, and then we lob it to Donovan Clingan. I just think that if you have this level of collapse on Scoot Henderson, he should probably pass out here, but he did score, so it doesn't necessarily matter. He pulls out, and he has this slight space to get the shot up. So, one, this shows confidence in your jump shot. This is something that young players need a lot, because in the end of the day, a lot of young players don't come in just shooting the piss out of the ball. They come in struggling, so just having this confidence and just being able to keep putting up shots, that's another thing that I can really accept from him. Now, this is the thing that I'm not necessarily the highest on. Like, this is something I look at and be like, this is a hot streak. This is really a hot streak. Like, Scoot Henderson is a 32 to 33 above the break three-point shooter. So, him shooting 46% from three over the past 2 weeks, I don't know. And this is not something I'm going to be developing from Scoot. And let's just get it said and done. I think this is Chauncey Billups' last year as a Portland Trail Blazers head coach. I think this is, especially if they get the number 1 pick in the draft. Especially if they get the number 1, 2, 3, 4 pick in the draft, he's definitely gone. If I see a guy that I'm taking in the first round that I think I can build around, Chauncey Billups is gone. But that's another video for another day. Anyway, Scoot Henderson has the ball here. He's figuring out what he wants to do. He's sizing up. I think this is OMP. I don't know how to say his name. Olivier. I don't care. He takes the one dribble. He just pulls up for three. Like, if that comes around, fantastic. But this is not something I'm about to put my eggs in the basket for. I think Scoot does have the potential to be one of the better pick and roll creators, just because I think he's going to have a lot of room to work with, because I think Donovan Clingan is going to be a great offensive rebounder. I think he's going to be a great screen setter, and I think he's going to be a great roller. And I do think he'll be able to make decisions out of the short roll pretty soon. But so far, I mean, I think Scoot, with his first step in his athleticism, is going to be able to capitalize on these screens a lot. I mean, you have Trace Jackson Davis playing drop, which is something that you're supposed to do because you're not necessarily worried about Scoot Henderson as a shooter. That's why I want to develop his three-point shot or mid-range shot as much as I possibly can. And we add layers to his game, like I said earlier in the video. So he's going to create some type of pressure on Trace Jackson Davis. He's going to give Andrew Wiggins a little bit of a shoulder, and he's going to get some type of separation, and he immediately rises with the shot. This is something that we're not second-guessing. We're going to give a little bit of separation to Andrew Wiggins. Once Andrew Wiggins is backpedaling, we're going to rise up with the shot. So by the time he gets his hand up, or by the time he realizes to try and get back on the ball, we're already gathering to shoot the ball. If you guys can understand. If I could put it in slow motion, I would. Let's just go back a little bit. So once he gives the bump right here, soon as he gives this bump, as soon as Andrew Wiggins leaves his right arm, he's gathering for the shot. So you create the separation, and then you go up the second you get the separation, so the player can't recover and get a good contest on the shot. So once that happens, he goes up, he gets a good look, and it's cast. So there are some intangibles there, and there is some type of knowledge to the game that he possesses that we can progress with Scoot Henderson. I still believe that. Okay, here's just another clip of Scoot Henderson's burst, but this time it's off ball. And this is something I think he can learn too, because you got other ball handlers on the team like Denny Advia and Anthony Simons who should be able to play make for you guys. So Denny Advia is pushing it in transition. Scoot Henderson realizes that Nickeil Alexander-Walker, if you guys heard my phone, I apologize about that. But Scoot Henderson realizes that Nickeil Alexander-Walker is playing a little too up on him, Once again, he tries to really close out on Scoot Henderson high up, and before Nickeil Alexander-Walker can set his feet, he immediately cuts to the basket because Julius Randle is way too far out. He's way too far out. And nobody is really protecting the rim here. This is what happens when Rudy Gobert isn't on the floor, by the way. And he gets the easy layup. Simple as that. I think Scoot Henderson just working with some comparable bigs, whether it's DeAndre Ayton, as much as we don't necessarily love DeAndre Ayton's game, he's still a league average to above league average center. You know, he rebounds the ball pretty well. He has a really good offensive game. He's just soft as baby tissue. So it is what it is. I think Robert Williams is still another really good center. Also think Donovan Clingan is another really good center. So he has guys to pass the ball to. I think Anthony Simons is really lethal off the ball. Same with Shaedon Sharpe. So he has guys to where he can show some of his playmaking chops. So once again, we look in the pick and roll here. And once again, you have Zach Edey playing drop. And I think Scoot Henderson can be really one of the most dangerous players to play drop against, because if he gets some type of league average or above league average mid-range on top of his athleticism and the playmaking potential that he possesses, look at the pocket pass right to DeAndre Ayton and just look at the no look. Look at the no look. Look at the no look. He looks Zach Edey right in his eyes or right in his neck, because Zach Edey is big as hell. But he drops the ball right in the pocket. DeAndre Ayton can just pull up. Easy shot. Easy shot. He can really be one of the better pick and roll creators in this league. So we've seen this before. Now, we haven't seen this before, but I've seen a lot of players like Scoot Henderson, guys who really thrive with getting ahead of steam to the rim. I've seen people get screened when guarding Scoot, especially guarding 94 feet. Some people would probably set a screen right at the half-court line. And I think this is what should have happened in this scenario. But I think this kind of like hedge off or this little shield off kind of worked just enough so Scoot could really get that lane to the rim, because once we're going to see the change of speed, and it's going to be phenomenal. If we just take him, he's slowly bringing the ball up the floor, and then boom, he gets straight to the rim and finishes right around the big. So when we really look at that change of speed, that is something that can create rim pressure in the full court, in the half court, whatever. The way he's just able to switch it in such a nick of time. Take a look. The change of speed is amazing. He gets to the rim and he finishes. This is, like I said, this is laying the groundwork of what could be a really good playmaker and a really good finisher. Now, maybe we don't see the superstar potential that we did back when he first was drafted, but I definitely do see maybe a fringe all-star, maybe a above average point guard that you would love to have on your team, like the Fred VanVleets of the world, the prime Mike Conleys of the world. Oh my God, that is loud. Anyway, Scoot's going to get the ball off of a screen. Once again, he's going to get a really good screen from Donovan Clingan. And once again, the ball control is really good, and he finishes through contact. So if we just look at the counters that he was throwing, because Keon Ellis is a really good defender. He kind of manipulates the pick and roll here. Domantas Sabonis is playing Scoot Henderson as best he possibly can. And we go back. We stop on a dime here. Pick and roll here. Or not pick and roll. Between the legs here. He creates some type of angle, but Keon Ellis is such a good defender that he recovers pretty well. But Scoot has the strength to where he can finish in those type of bad situations. This is another situation from Scoot, just being able to make quick decisions. You know, if you want to have a point guard, you want to be able to notice the cut immediately. He gets the ball and almost notices it as soon as it happens. Maybe just a second late, but in the end of the day, I'm glad he saw it, because really good cut. I think, who was that? I don't know. The Pelicans have had so many players on their roster. It's hard to keep up this season, but he clearly falls asleep on defense, and he gets the assist there. Here is what I was saying off, adding layers to your game. Scoot Henderson becoming a playmaker out of these downhill possessions. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It does not have to be pretty whatsoever. But as long as you're creating the advantages for your offense to where you can kick it out to open shooters, I think Scoot Henderson could average 7 to 8 assists a night just off of these. If you take a look, I think Anthony Simons did a really good job of creating some space for Scoot Henderson. He bursts. He looks like he has a really good lane to the rim. Yves Missi is extremely high up. So Jordan Hawkins, he bites the bait. And as soon as he does, Scoot Henderson is already gearing up to pass to the corner. Then Avia gets the open three, and he knocks it down. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been my episode for Scoot Henderson. Now, do I think this is a fluke? I think the three-point shooting is really a fluke. I don't think anybody is going to be shooting 46%, or anybody. I wouldn't say anybody. I don't think Scoot is a 46% three-point shooter. Now, I would love if he could finish the season on 36 or 37% on 5 attempts. I would like that, but that may still be asking for a lot. So who really knows? I do think there are a lot of really good intangibles that Scoot Henderson possesses to where he can be an above average starting point guard or maybe even an all-star level point guard. It's just, once again, it does take a long time for young point guards to really figure things out. And I was on Player's Choice, and I kind of advocated that this may not ever work out. And once again, I'm going to stand by that. Young players just don't always figure it out. But if he can build off of what he has shown us over the past 2 weeks, I do think there is still some potential there. He's halfway through his second season, so everybody just relax. I think Scoot Henderson still has a lot of really good intangibles. He just has to be with the right development team, and I don't think the Blazers have really done the best job. So once again, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want to check me out on TikTok, it is at the Buzzer Sports. On Instagram, at the Buzzer Sports. On Twitter, ATB Sports 1. And for business inquiries, at the Buzzer Sports ENT at gmail.com. Once again, I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.